Hello, and welcome once again to Exit Strategy. This is the podcast where we ask comedians, what would you do with your life if comedy was no longer a part of it? You balance these creative pursuits in your real life for so long. Let's see if we've got our priorities in order. Is comedy where we're going to end up in the end? I don't know. But we got to continually ask ourselves that. It's a question that comes up, I think, with all creatives is, am I making the right choice? Do I need to reassess? And I think constant reassessment is probably in our best interest because it's a very hard field. And sometimes you got to refocus because the well gets poisoned with the entertainment business and other people's successes and perceived things that you have to pursue. And then when you start pursuing them, you say to yourself, oh, maybe that's not exactly what I'm into. Maybe that's not exactly what my goal should be. I think we're going to get into that sort of thing today. First off, if you're listening to this on the day that it drops, I just want to say preemptively, happy 4th of July. That is on Thursday. I could not be more excited. I'm a big 4th of July guy. If you know me, if you really know me, you know this is my favorite holiday, my favorite time of the year. A lot of people, they're Halloween people. God bless you. My wife's one of them. Not me. Not a Halloween guy. Christmas, too much. The whole month gets sucked in. It's too much. Takes away from your whole life. 4th of July comes in there. They say, hey, here's a day where you just relax, you eat a little barbecue, maybe there's a pool situation that you can get in on, and then the next day, we're back to just, it's a little refresher. It's a little, hey, take a break. And I love it. Ooh, cannot wait for 4th of July. I went to a Target the other day, saw the 4th of July end cap, all the things you need to make a 4th of July festive and fun. And I got a giddy feeling in my soul seeing those coolers, those charcoal briquettes, and ketchup and mustard, hot dog buns and hot dogs, all that stuff. Cannot wait. Gonna hit up the pool big time for the 4th of July. I like it because 4th of July is it's a barbecue, but it's the only barbecue that has like a built-in nighttime component. Because there's one thing I'm gonna be. This is an unpopular opinion. A lot of people are not going to agree with me on this. Cannot stand a daytime party in LA. Not fun. Loud music, sun beating in your face, day drinking. Hate day drinking. Day drinking is the most overrated thing. Puts you out. You miss your night. It's going to ruin your whole day. But then, here we go. 4th of July. It's okay if you show up to the party at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, dusk. Literally the best time of day in a Los Angeles summer is dusk. Show up at dusk. Get a little swim in before it gets cold. Pop out of the pool. Watch some fireworks that are totally illegal in this town, but still somehow being done. Not a problem. Don't sweat that. A few things will burn down. It'll be fine. But enjoy yourself a cold beverage in the dusk as the cool air sweeps over you. That's a 4th of July, and this is why I'm getting excited about it. Now, another component about 4th of July in Los Angeles that you should all know, if you don't already know, is that people use it as an opportunity to take a 9-day weekend. People started taking time off, leaving this town last week. It is wild. It is weird. I cannot put my finger on it, but it's something that they do. So I think in order to make this episode happen, we're scheduling, it wasn't worth it because it was going to be too hard. So we're going solo this week, but we're going to do something a little bit special. I think it's going to be exciting, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So I think we're going to marinate today. I know we're going to marinate today. I've made that decision. I never talk about myself as much on this podcast. I think that it comes out in bits and pieces as I interview other people because we have relationships and they know me, and I don't know that the listener knows me. So I want to sort of bring you up to speed as to what this podcast is, where it's come, and where it's going. I started this podcast almost 2 years ago. We're almost at the 2-year anniversary, if you can believe it. And when I started this podcast, I was a broke as a joke freelance writer for Curbed Los Angeles. I was writing articles, few a day, barely scraping by. It was a very rewarding job in that I knew the city. I felt like I was making a difference. People were reading my articles. It sort of helped inform people. I felt informed about the city, but it just was unsustainable, as sometimes creative pursuits are. mostly freelance pursuits. It is a hard, hard life. So I had to make that decision back then in 2017 of, all right, I need to switch focus. I need to have an exit strategy out of that. And then over the past few years, I've been lucky enough to make a living on this in the social media marketing world. In addition to performing comedy at night, I have a steady job, and I'm very lucky to have that. I'm very lucky that I was able to parlay a lot of my skills as a comedian and as a performer and as an entertainer, as somebody who has marketed not just shows but themselves online as part of the game for 10 years. I didn't realize that those were marketable skills in the job field. So it's interesting that we learn that as you go through comedy, you're picking up a lot of things that you don't realize are useful, and you don't realize that other people cannot do. So I would invite all of my comedian friends who are maybe down on themselves and maybe think that they're unhirable, because I think that is a common. I think a lot of us just assume we are weird night owl people who will not have real jobs, cannot have real jobs. We don't have marketable skills. But here's the deal. We do. If just knowing how to speak in public is a marketable asset to you, you can get yourself something. And I'm not saying boring office job. You can get something in a creative field. And I was lucky enough to do that. Now, 2 years later, here we are. I am feeling a creative rut. Let me know if you've been in this situation before. I have done things in a routine for the past 2 years as I've molded my life to this new scenario of actually being able to pay my bills, which had to be done, but it has switched my life and given it a little bit of a routine, and now I need to shake myself out of it. Now, personally, I don't have the next big thing. I don't have the next lily pad to jump to use a Frogger analogy, but I'm searching for it. The problem is it gets a little bit frustrating when you do. You don't know what's next, and you don't know where you're going. You just kind of don't feel like you're going in the right direction, and I'm feeling that creative rut myself. And I reached out to a lot of my friends on social media and asked them, hey, do you have any tips to get over this problem? And they all chipped in and helped me out with some very good suggestions. And so we're going to take a look at those. I'm gonna open it up here, give some of these suggestions just to the world, because I think that they're very useful. I also think that they're diverse. There's a lot of different things that pop in. So I think that it's not just a one-size-fits-all situation to get yourself out of a creative rut. You got to pick and choose what's right for you. So I'm going to throw out a whole bunch of options. So if you're feeling in the same boat, or perhaps you're not, and then later on you say, oh, wait a minute, I'm feeling it now, go back to this episode. It'll always be there. iTunes, baby, Spotify, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to have all these tips right there at your fingertips from a whole wide swath of comedians and artistic types. And we're going to get into that right after this. We're going to find out, how do you get out of a creative rut right after this. All right, here we go. We have sent out word to the community of artists network worldwide of people who follow me on social media. It's a lot here. It's not just Los Angeles, actually. We've gotten some suggestions from a lot of different people here. They're all chiming in saying, hey, Jeff, you're in a creative rut. I understand that. Been there. Here's what's worked for me. Let's go through a couple of these and see what they are. Maybe, I don't know. These might work for you. They might not work for you. But hey, let's throw them out there, let people know what they are. Let's start off here. We're starting off with Megan Thompson, brilliant photographer. If you haven't checked her out, go to Megan Picture Taker Thompson on Instagram. She did my wedding. She does band photos. She's friends with Mark Hoppus of Blink-182. Ever heard of her? This is just going to be me plugging the resumes of the people who are helping me out here. She has a very good suggestion. She says, check out a social media for a few days. Get that out of your head. Don't even worry about that, because honestly, we all put our best selves out on social media, and it looks like everyone that you know is just nailing it, hitting it out of the park at all times. No one ever looks like they're on a creative rut in that situation. So it is healthy to cut that off for a second. Unfortunately, I'm in social media marketing, so I have to be in it, and it sucks. But okay. Not a big deal. She also says, take a long hike listening to music, podcasts, anything that isn't related to your field. And I think that is going to come up a lot. This idea of, I don't know, blossoming curiosity in things that maybe you didn't know about or don't know about fully. Because we got to explore this world. So, all right, Megan Thompson, there you go. We got Caitlin Gill, his former guest, great comedian. Caitlin Gill on Twitter writes, watch something, do something you don't do. Go to a concert or play or something and enjoy the fruits of the process. Again, fill the well. Get out there, add new experiences that you can talk about. I guess we've got this thing in our brains where we have neural pathways. We go, I think our brains are tuned to go through the motions, and you got to switch your routine a little bit. You got to do things differently so that you're, I don't know, you come at the world from a different perspective. And I agree, Caitlin. I did go to my first couple of plays, actually, in the past couple months. So maybe I'm a playwright. Maybe I'm a playgoer. I don't know. My wife, who studied theater in college, would absolutely roll the shit out of her eyes if she knew that I just said, maybe I'll be a playwright, because I have not done the work at all. Okay. This is an interesting suggestion. This one's a little out of the ordinary, and I'd like to unpack it a little bit because I'm fascinated by this, but I'm also terrified by this. This is from Moan Chomsky on Twitter. Moan says, check into a cheap and crappy motel near nothing fun and only bring pens and various sizes of paper. There is the caveat, make sure the motel is not too scary. Appreciate it. I guess the suggestion here is just lock out literally anything. This is like kind of, it's the opposite of fill the well. This is sort of deny yourself. It's almost like meditation. Deny yourself any thought, any distraction, and you've probably got something in you that could come out. It's just a matter of opening the portal to that. I think this is a lot of what the artist way is all about. And if you haven't done that, it's a large book. A lot of it, these components are probably contained within it, these suggestions. But basically the idea that it is founded, like the foundation of it is that every day you write. Every day you just carve out time and you write, free write. You don't edit it. You just throw out a bunch of words on paper. Who the hell knows what's going to come out? And maybe it's not even that valuable. It's just the idea of opening that up. And the checking into a motel component of it is kind of, it sounds weird, but it also sounds intriguing because it is definitely, it's like there's a purpose to it. Because another thing people have suggested is set deadlines or set some sort of parameters around your creative goal so that there's sort of something pushing you. This kind of feels like I'm renting office space. Like I'm paying for this. I have to be creative. I guess that could be a suggestion that I would take that. I would do that. I also like this. I like the idea of various sizes of paper. And I don't know what it is about this that resonates with me, but it is a fact. For some reason, I'm way more creative if the paper that I'm writing on is like the back of an envelope. I can go to town on the back of an envelope, whereas if I have like a sheet of just notebook paper, regular size, regular shape, doesn't give me that same level of creativity, which is another reason why I think it's important to, this is my tip for everybody. If you are a notebook person, if you are a little moleskin, tiny notebook person, maybe switch it up. Maybe get yourself a big journal style next time. Maybe get something bigger. Go for a different size of paper, because I honestly think that depending on what you're writing on is going to inform what you write. And let me tell you one thing that has been the bane of my existence. It took me years to get rid of this. And I think it has something to do with how ridiculously poor I was for very, very, very long. There was this thing that I would do when I would buy because these moleskin notebooks, they're so beautiful. They look so elegant. The paper is so nice. There was this thing that was holding me back, and I didn't realize it was happening. I was so scared of wasting this paper that I would only commit things to it that I was like, I'm confident in this. It was not being used as scratch paper. But I would invite you all to get over that notion, if you felt it like I did, of this paper has to be used for important purposes. It's so beautiful, it's so expensive. Oh, the weight of it, it's such a thick piece of paper. We got to get rid of that feeling. You got to just consider it as like, I'm just going to spend a lot of money on scratch paper because I need a fancy place. My ideas deserve a fancy landing spot. These should be the best damn notes and gobbledygook and garbage. It needs to be on the best paper possible because that's how important it is to me. So it's just switching your mind view, I guess, on that one. So that was, get yourself a bunch of little pieces of paper, all different sizes, and I think that'll definitely spark a little something else in you. All right, we've got Laura Condi next here. Laura Condi says the F word. Ooh. No, it's not that. It's although hey, it worked for Don Draper. Get out there and get it wet, baby. Sorry. No, the F word she's talking about is forced. She says, just force yourself to do something, anything and everything. The attempt will be greater than the rut, no matter how much the attempt sucks. So basically, just keep moving. The idea is momentum. And I think that's another thing that the Artist Way, this is just going to end up being the Artist Way commercial over here. But write, do something, just, it doesn't have to be good. And it probably shouldn't be good at the beginning. And the idea that something should be good the second you start doing it, the idea that you're a natural at anything is a very toxic idea for creativity, and it really is going to hold you back. So, yeah, get out there, do something. I'm honestly forcing myself now. This is not my comfort zone to just be talking into a microphone. I am in an empty home right now, and it is an awkward fit. If you could only see how much I'm sweating from how nervous this very concept of what we're doing is. Ooh, pity me. All right, Lisa Ann Chanou, former guest and the host of the What's Your Sign podcast, says, change your routine. Drink water and eat colorful foods. Change your routine. We've already discussed it. I agree with it completely. Just even find a new way to go to work. Like, just switch things up. Drink water, eat colorful foods. I think that the drink water thing, I do it already. And if you're not doing it, guess what, folks? Drinking water fucking rules. You're going to feel so much better when you're hydrated. That's just a PSA for you all there. Aaron Lampart, of former guest, one of my Sauce co-producers. We do a show every week on Friday nights at Desano Pizza Bakery. She says, go to a museum, get out of your comfort zone, try a new thing. Hey, what if museums are my comfort zone? They're not. But I'm kind of due for that. I should check that out. Go out and see people who are able to create things that are beautiful and priceless just because they allowed themselves to do that. So, maybe you got to hit up the museum. Yeah, we got Aaron Blaert. Aaron Blaert of the Conan O'Brien Show seconds Aaron Lampart's suggestion about a museum. He says, I've always found inspiration to be nothing more than a curious mind being shown something new. Also, make stuff. Forward motion might not feel like you're doing anything in the moment, but it helps to shake the rust off. So a few things here, obviously. Find inspiration wherever you can and find it in new places. Got to find out what it is about. What is it that inspires me? Where is it? And where can I go to find it? And then make stuff. That's one thing that I go through bursts where I'm creative just for the sake of being creative. And I think that's another thing that social media and the entertainment industry and this endless competition between us that's unspoken, but is very much there. It's fun to just create something that maybe there's a little bit of effort in there, but in the end, it's not going online. It's not there for likes. It's not there for shares. You're just doing something. Maybe it's a little something funny, a little funny Photoshop just to make one person laugh. That should be perfectly on par with creating something that becomes a television show or a movie or some sort of financial or some sort of huge success by all other means. It should be just as important to make a doodle on a Post-it that delights people with its eccentricities. So, this is just as important as anything else I do, because you got to put all your effort into what you're doing in the moment. So I'm going to make stuff. Make stuff. Forward motion. All right, we have Whitney Wasson here. Whitney Wasson says, watch something new or read a book that's not normally something you'd read. A live show, maybe something you're unfamiliar with, dance, different music genres, even better. Again, finding things that are outside of your comfort zone and different, something that's going to inform you. In life, is there anything better than the moment that you stumble upon something that you did not realize you were passionate about, and then you can just go full force into it, learn everything about it. Be it a new music, a new band, a new show, a new anything, just a hobby that you didn't realize was going to hook you like it does. So it's always nice. And I guess the more you look for that sort of thing, and the more you open yourself up for it, the more likely it is that it's going to come into your life. We have Simone Baptiste. Simone is the producer of our Sauce show and a fantastic comedian in her own right. She is actually fundraising for a movie that she's going to be producing. You should check that out on her socials. She says, she asks, do you keep a journal? I have kept a journal. It's been a while. I actually had a journal of when I started comedy, when I was about to just sort of document that moment of the first time that I ever did stand-up. And then that transitions into when I did it for the first time and how it made me feel. And then the first couple years that I was in Los Angeles. So it's a really raw document of someone who has no idea what he's doing. Simone says, I like going back to old entries, updating with new understandings of past events. Then it becomes clear to me what I should be pursuing, writing about in present day. That is an interesting concept. I kind of like that. I think that the things that I probably prioritized or probably was finding difficult, easy, concerns, all of that stuff from that era needs its proper context because it's probably different now. And I think going back and contextualizing that could definitely be a way of maybe rediscovering something that I maybe lost, maybe something that I was pursuing at one point that maybe I don't anymore, or maybe challenging myself to overcome something that I never really pursued back in 2008 and years past. So I might have to dig out the old comedy journal from 10 years ago, and I will be mortified by it. Make no mistake, but it'll be a nice memory lane recharge. And to that, I think another thing that a lot of people do that I am due to do is going through old comedy notebooks and seeing if there's anything in there that sparks your imagination. Because we've had, if you could only see how many notebooks we all have, just little notebooks filled with one word that it's just a list of single words that will somehow trigger an entire rant or bit about any sort of subject. So I got to go back in there and see if there's anything that I never was good enough. Sometimes you're just not good enough in the moment to talk about a big subject. And now with age and a little more experience, you might be able to pull that one out. So that might be a good option for me too. I might have to check that out. We have Jamila Shilo, who is a producer in Chicago. Old friend of mine. Jamila says, do some kind of volunteer work you have never done before. Try Habitat for Humanity or a nursing home. Give yourself new experiences while serving others. The universe will serve you. Okay. Now, this is an interesting concept, too, because I think entertainment and art in general is 100% ego. It is 100% me, baby. I'm putting myself out there. It's probably very healthy to give back to things selflessly to the world. There's a lot of stuff we got to work on. There's a lot of things that we have to address, especially in Los Angeles, and I'm sure wherever you live too. So not a bad idea to build up just a little bit of good karma in your life and maybe learn a little bit more about your fellow man and woman while doing so. And you can't go wrong with some volunteer work. I'm not going to badmouth that for sure. All right. Jess Jones says, go to a public space with diverse traffic, people watch, and construct full narratives, character profiles, backstory, what's happening today, and is there any significant aspect of the moment you are witnessing? It's easier to free yourself up by letting your environment provide the initial offering to your creative impulse. Now, I think this is another instance of get out there into the world, go to different places. And now I like this because Jess is fine-tuning it, saying, okay, now that you're in this spot, now that you've found an environment that you're not familiar with, let's go to work. Let's point people out. Let's create these exercises of stretching your imagination. I mean, this is just imagination. This is just playing. This is stimulating your brain with the very idea of playing with, all right, this is a human being. Let's dissect them. Let's see what is making this person tick. This is going to inform this entire world that I'm creating in my, and then shit, it's like you're almost writing a movie. Ooh, Jess, good tip. All right. Haley Boyle, comedian, says, ride the bus and talk to strangers. Call somebody you haven't talked to in years. Well, I'll tell you, I'm seeing a lot of names on this post, people that I have not talked to in a lot of years, and I appreciate their advice. Might have to follow up and see what the hell they're doing with their lives. Get some, build some ties back up with some people that I maybe haven't spoke to in a long time. Ride the bus. Guess what, Haley? Already do it. And I will say this right now, if you don't ride the bus in your town, go ahead and do it. You're going to get a huge perception shift of who rides the bus, why it's important, and why it is actually going to... if you can get out of driving your car to work and sit down and have somebody else take you to work, I know it's going to take a little longer, but man, you can pull out a book. You can really center yourself. You're going to lose a lot of tension when you do that. So I say, hey, go out there and ride the bus. All right. We have Stephen Benequist here. Stephen Benequist, a comedian I have known for quite some time. Oh, he has one of my favorite bits there ever was. If you ever check it out, it's... I think it's on YouTube. It's K-Jazz. He plays a DJ doing a fundraiser for a public radio jazz station, and it is chef's kiss. Delightful. It says, lots of great ideas here. If you have ideas but can't get yourself started, I find nothing gets me going like an externally imposed deadline. If it's a stand-up album, rent the theater for a date. If it's a play, submit it to a festival. Basically... give yourself, this is when the test is. And I think this is almost like the hotel one that was earlier. It's just, it's interesting because a lot of people are just like, let your mind be free. Let your mind go to places, maybe hang back. This is like the exact opposite. This is like, no, put the pressure on. And I think that does work sometimes. I know that I will put things off until the very last minute. And sometimes that's just when I thrive. So maybe I just need to say, in 6 months, X, whatever I want to do. And then, oh boy. And it's going to be public too. I guess that's another thing. You got to have people holding you accountable. That's why writers groups are usually a good idea, because there is a deadline, but it's hard to have that deadline mean anything if there's nobody holding you to it. Brandon Burkhart also chimes in and says it's pretty much the same thing. Take a class where you're given assignments and deadlines. Have other people hold you accountable. And I think this is another reason why I'm doing this. I put it out there because I think it's nice to check in with the community and check in with other people and sort of say, hey, this is where I'm at. And then, at the end, if I do get out of this creative rut, and I think I will, I can update people and say, yes, you guys helped me get out of there. Thank you very much. What do we have here? Andy Sell. Andy Sell says, weed, man. It works for some people. It's not going to work for me, and I don't want to be a negative Nancy over here, but weed, marijuana is not a friend of mine in the creative department. Just never really clicked me in the marijuana. So thank you for the suggestion, Andy, and I'm sure that it'll work with other people, but I don't know that it's going to work for me. All right. Jerry Brandt says, get out into the world and do things. A museum trip or just a day out in nature hiking can be extremely inspirational. If you're not exercising regularly, start. Just a walk in the morning every day can kickstart your brain and get things going. And I think that that's true. That's something that we maybe don't remember sometimes is that just getting the blood going in your brain will stimulate thought. It's like that thing where you either are in the shower or driving. There's just something about that activity where it's just sort of, I don't know, there's a base level of just where your head is at, and then what you like. It kind of just is something where you're thinking beyond yourself. Exercise is kind of the same way. If you're just doing an exercise that you've done a million times, where your blood is pumping, your brain isn't somewhere else because you don't need to think about the treadmill, obviously. Might be a way to spark some new ideas. So get out there and work out. I'm a bike rider myself, and I've definitely used that as a way to think and think out. Honestly, I use it to think out, all right, I got a guest coming in. What do we want to talk about? It's a brainstorm session that also gets you fit. Wow, what a deal. And then let's close here with my good friend Barbara Gray, somebody who, she was the first episode. So let's full circle over here. We got Barbara Gray. She says, I'm in the same boat right now. And honestly, I just kind of told myself, I'm just going to give myself a month where I don't worry about my creative pursuits. Just focus on the shit I need to get done and go see things and be social. I think going away from it can be helpful, or I'm hoping it will be. This is another idea, too, that probably needs to be given some thought to, because as artists, as comedians, as actors, whatever you might be, one thing that seems to be built in with this life is no shortage of life's little problems, financially, personally, family. There's a lot of things that you kind of have to neglect sometimes when you're in a creative pursuit. When you're in that zone, when you're out of the creative rut, you really have to sort of zone out on a lot of things that are very important sometimes. It's a gamble, as comedy, art, acting, music, anything like that, where you're really not guaranteed comforts in life. You really are taking a huge gamble in what you do. So you sort of, you're, instead of betting money, well, sometimes you're betting money, but you're betting your personal relationships with your friends and family. You're betting that time away and hoping that maybe it'll pay off if you neglect things a little bit and focus it in on your art. You're neglecting on your financial situation. Maybe you're not taking that job that will give you financial comfort because you don't have the time to commit to it because you're working on your art. There's all these little things to consider. Maybe in that creative rut, I don't know, Barbara, it might be a good idea to just settle the house, get yourself right so that you have a base to stand on when you do go into this new creative pursuit. There's only so long you can put some things off, be it your financial situation, your health, your relationship with your family and friends. So it's probably not a bad idea, honestly, to maybe look at this creative rut not so much as a problem, but as a break, a rest, a time for you to catch up with things that maybe have gotten in the way. So I say go for it, Barbara. I say get yourself right with where you want to be, because you're only going to come back stronger if you aren't worried about that stuff. I mean, there's nothing that's going to, I know personally, I don't know if everybody's like this, but there's nothing that's going to kill my creativity more than if I've got a nagging worry on my mind of like, am I even going to be able to be a living human being soon? Like, I need everything to be in order before I can start having fun and be playful. Not everyone's like that, but I know I am. And I think it's important, though, even if you aren't, to go take care of the things you got to take care of. Get yourself right, and then come back stronger than ever. That's been a lot of tips. I hope that something in there has helped you. I got to digest it all myself. I have a lot of advice and a lot of different things to try. Namely, I think get out of your comfort zone. Do something new. A lot of people talking about museums, so I guess go to a museum that makes you uncomfortable. But go out, do something new, try something new, sample the world, get yourself out there and do stuff. Have fun for fun's sake. Just be creative. Don't worry about don't even have to put it out into the world. Make art for you a little bit. And then maybe also in the end, use this time time is valuable. Use this time to set yourself right, get yourself where you need to be. financially, take care of any problems or some housekeeping you got to take care of. Because once that creative rut's gone, once you're in that zone, you're not going to be thinking about that stuff anymore. You're going to be pushing forward with your new pursuit because it's going to be a new toy and you're going to be excited. You're not going to want to clean your apartment after that. Okay. Well, that's some good ideas. I hope they've worked for you. If you have any more, feel free to send them my way. I'll always take them, and I'll even read them on the air if you're so inclined. Send those over to exitstrategypod at gmail.com or just DM the account, tweet at the account on Twitter, and let me know what you do. Let me know how you get out of a creative rut, or if any of these have worked for you, or if any of these haven't worked for you. Let's just discuss them. Let's get into what is the right way to do this for each person. All right. We're out of the creative rut now, and we're going into my favorite segment. After this, no exit strategy would be complete without my favorite segment of all. We're going to find out who is the sponsor for this week's episode right after this. Well, we're back, and I'm quite frankly proud of myself. I honestly thought this was going to be like a 8-minute long episode. I was a little bit worried that because I understand if this is your Wednesday podcast, if this is your Thursday podcast, whenever you listen to it, there's a window of your life that needs to be filled for some activity, whether it be driving to work, whether it be doing the dishes, whatever you do during this podcast. I would be I would be remiss if I did not provide that for you in some capacity. So I think I'm going to fill that window for you if this is your podcast of choice for any activity that you do. And also, thank you so much for making it something that's a regular part of your life. I really do appreciate that. And spread the word. Specifically, spread the word to Alaska. I don't know if you've been following along, but we're still having this problem where people listen to this show all over the world. And I can see it on a little map. I see the stats. I know where people are listening, and there's little things all over the place. Everyone from all over the place are listening to this show, but there's one place that's not listening to it. And on this 4th of July, I want to change that. In America, all 49 states, at least one person has listened to this show except one state, Alaska. What are you doing? If you know anyone from Alaska, help them complete my OCD by making every state in the union be a part of this. I'm not saying they got to listen to them all. Just one, baby. Just fill in that map so that I can say that somebody in every state in our union on this 4th of July, 2019, has listened to Exit Strategy. That's your homework. Go ahead and do that. All right, now we're getting to the sponsor of this week's episode. Every episode has to have a sponsor. This one's no different. This is a special sponsor, actually. I didn't get to talk about this. I forgot to mention this a few episodes back when this happened to me. We have a listener, Scott Waterhouse, in Australia. See, I'm telling you, they're listening everywhere. A listener from Australia. He's also a listener of my wife's podcast, the Long Shot Podcast, and he's a fan of both. And he sent us the most gorgeous wooden handmade spoons I've ever seen in my life. These things are like little works of art, little craft pieces. I'll post a picture of them, but it will not do this justice of holding it in your hand. This little wooden spoon that he's made for me. It is soft as a baby's butt, sanded down to perfection, and it's also got this really nice, it's got like a therapeutic smell to it. Something about the wood that he uses, I do not have the information on me, but I'm told that it is a rare wood in Australia that you're not allowed to even use or take unless the tree has naturally fallen down. So this is like rare Australian wood, and I'm sure Scott is saying to himself, I wish you wouldn't have known. You clearly could have prepared and known what wood this was. But I want to give a shout out to Scott. We really do appreciate you sending these to us, and they are gorgeous. And I don't know if I'm allowed to eat with them. I don't think that I will, though, because I think that it would lose the smell that is of this gorgeous wood if I were to use it to eat tomato soup. But I will say, I don't know if Scott actually sells these things, but buddy, guess what? You're in the business now because I'm going to tell people where to find out more about this. Check out his Instagram at Green Apple Cat Carving and see what Scott does. They're gorgeous. And then maybe, if you need a gift for somebody, this is like something you would see at, I'm telling you, Scott, this is like something that you would see at a Silver Lake farmer's market, and they'd probably be charging like so much money for these things. This is a business for you, Scott. You got to get in on this. But check it out. Follow his Instagram. Look at what he's carving. See if you like it. And then maybe, just maybe DM him. I don't know. Maybe he'll sell it to you. I don't know. There might be tax implications. I don't know if you're allowed to sell things in Australia to America or wherever you might be. But check it out. Green Apple Cat Carving on Instagram. Thank you again, Scott. All right. This has been Exit Strategy for this week. I hope that some of these creative tips help you. Let me know if they do. Let me know if they don't. Let me know if you have any tips that I might not have found out about through this social media experiment that I put out there. I would love to hear from you. And I guess we'll see you all next week here on Exit Strategy. Happy 4th of July. Goodbye.